Well. So everybody's talking about Daddy having a bit of a breakdown last night on his not so truths. Yes, baby. Now I had to go see what everybody was talking about, and yes, honey, he twatted out to the twatosphere 150 times within an hour. Something that is not humanly possible. I know this because I'm a content creator, dear. There's only 60 minutes in an hour. And sometimes when you go to post, it takes a minute to post it. It'll tell you this post will be available in 60 seconds. So for the average person, you can only get 60 post out in an hour, dear. But somehow he got 150, which proves what we already knew to be true, that he has a whole bunch of minions up there that have access to his not-so-truths, and they post shit for him, dear. Now, some of those twats that he put out into the twatosphere were very much from his own mind that is in decline. Because one of the things he said, baby, now get this, honey, that is not okay. Daddy wants the red hats to believe today that somehow when Biden was president, even though Michelle and Obama were both nowhere in the White House, somehow Michelle Obama was so crafty, baby, that she snuck up in the White House, got the auto pen, and started signing shit for Biden. That's what he wants the red hats to believe, baby. Honey. Is Obama and Michelle living in the walls at the White House? I know they're living rent-free in that orange motherfucker's head today. Ooh, Michelle had access to the auto pen. Baby, get the fuck on out of here. And of course he had some things to say about Obama too. He wants him arrested so fucking bad, boo, but Daddy forgot that presidential immunity extends to all presidents, honey. You're just gonna have to continue to shit in your depends, baby. Because you ain't getting him arrested today. But something else I want to talk about in this video, if you want to sit with me, it's important. Now, y'all know how Daddy Dumpy Pants is always talking about doing away with mail-in ballots. Yes, he tries to convince the Red Hat crew, and so does the GOP too, that the mail-in ballots are corrupt and fraudulent. But we all know that not to be true. We know, if you know anything about the facts today, you know that the most secure way to vote is a mail-in ballot because it goes through hands and it's laid underneath eyes, so several people get to see what the truth of the vote might be. Honey, and I've already shared several stories with you this year from 2020 where people were trying to vote for Daddy with mail-in ballots of dead people, baby, and got caught. Yes, we've been covering that. Well, this is another story from 2020. And the reason I'm bringing it to you is because it covered multiple states. And just last week, the sentence was issued in the state of Michigan to these two individuals. And this is from 2020. Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman. Okay, now in Ohio, they were sentenced to 500 hours of community service. In New York, where they committed these crimes, they were sentenced to pay restitution of $1.25 million to the Attorney General's office. Well, last week in Michigan, they were sentenced for their crimes with probation. Now, these are their crimes that they pled guilty to. They admitted fully, baby, that they committed these crimes. They were using voter intimidation, conspiracy, and computer crimes. And what they were doing was they were trying to discourage specifically black voters. In 2020, Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman put on a huge conspiracy of computer crimes to call black voters in multiple states, Michigan, Ohio, New York. Those are just the ones I know of today. And they would call them and they would use stereotypical racist dog whistles to try to convince black voters not to use mail-in ballots. They would call them and say things like, make sure you don't buckle under the pressure of the man. Don't mail in your ballot and give power to the man. Ain't that some shit, honey? Using stereotypical racism, thinking they understand the black community and trying to play on that by using phrases like the man. Trying to make them be scared to use a mail-in ballot. Now, why, oh, why would you try to intimidate people not to use a mail-in ballot? That's right, because that's the most secure way to vote. It can't be corrupted like a voting machine. Yes, we all know that the voting machines can be hacked. It has been proven to us that they are very easily hacked and manipulated and corrupted and not safe for elections, honey. Just like we learned this year that somebody very close to Daddy Dumpy Pants in the GOP and the Republican Party thought it'd be a good idea to buy up all the Dominion voting machines. Just like Daddy's little daughter, the one that he says that he would lay with. Yeah, that one. Remember, she got tied up in some voting machine shit, too. She purchased some, boo. She was working with a company that had knowledge of the interworkings of voting machines. Yep, baby. So the only reason you would want to intimidate somebody not to use a mail-in ballot is because you would prefer for them to go to a machine so their vote could be corrupted before it is seen. Right? That's right. That's right. I've covered one case after another this year from the 2020 election where people tried to cheat and vote for Daddy by using mail-in ballots and were caught. And that's why he wants to do away with them. There was a case out of Florida where a Russian nationalist sent in thousands of fraudulent mail-in ballots for Daddy and was caught. Because the most secure way to do your vote is a mail-in ballot. Now, I think we should get rid of voting machines altogether. But people in this country complain because they have no patience these days. Yes, it would take a few days to count by hand and by eye every single paper ballot if we voted that way in every election in this country. Hell, there's 340 million of us that live here, and the majority of those vote, dear. But I don't know about you. I would rather wait a day or two to find out who won an election just so I know that every single ballot was seen by human eyes, multiple ones, checked over and over again, and not just trusting a machine that can be hacked and corrupted. Wouldn't you? If you really care about voter integrity, wouldn't you want it that way too? Wouldn't you want it that way too? That's right. That's right. Anyway, I just thought y'all should know. Mail-in ballots are the way to go. That's why they put on a little campaign and help finance behind the scenes. And yes, I'm talking about finance behind the scenes. There's ties between Daddy and Turning Point USA and the guys that were blowing up and bombing mailboxes. You remember that? Yes. People were blowing up and bombing mailboxes in the hopes of blowing up mail-in ballots, folks. Just saying, honey. Just saying.